It's fantasy football draft season, and we're looking at those deep stashes that you're trying to get for your fantasy team, especially for those deep leagues, or those stashes for the end of your bench or taxi squad for your dynasty team, or maybe some of these players you're not picking up in your basic league, your dynasty league, but you might set a few lineups with them a few months down the road in daily fantasy football on DraftKings. Today we're looking at Devaughn Vele, wide receiver of the Denver Broncos. He's in a fascinating spot here with the Broncos because the wide receiver depth chart is very ambiguous. He's an interesting prospect because there's a lot of weird stuff in his profile. We're going to deep dive him today to see whether or not you need him for fantasy football or what format you really need to look at him at for fantasy football. But before we all do that, you need to click that subscribe button because we're doing these deep dives every day. We're seeing whether or not you need some of these players. We're going over the analytics. We're going over the waiver wire. We're doing deep dives in season on the top waiver wire players. On top of that, we're helping you set your lineups with these videos and win your league. Click that button. Stop missing out. So we're looking at Devaughn Vele. He made the team. And he made Tim Patrick expendable. Tim Patrick's now in the Detroit Lions. Tim Patrick was looking good in preseason. It was a major head scratcher. This was one of the reasons. Troy Franklin, I'm not sleeping on him. Matter of fact, one of my favorite rookie wide receivers in this year's draft. But I got a lot of questions on Devaughn Vele. A lot of questions. So we're looking at him. We're deep diving him today. And he was a walk-on at Utah. Nobody was really looking at him. 24/7 Sports didn't really have a profile on him. So his biography here, he was a walk-on. And it took some time for him to ramp up. And then we got to the final couple years of his career. And we started to produce a little bit. Not overly productive. But the one thing to point out, over the course of his career, he was deep ball city. 11.8 average depth of target in 2023, 12.2 in 2022. Even though not much opportunity, 19.5 average depth of target in 2021. He gets the deep targets. He's used downfield. He's got some speed and length, a large catch radius, which is good for fantasy because that could lend to splash play. But looking at him, he was a 7th round selection for the Denver Broncos. This site has it wrong. Ran a 4.47 40-yard dash, good size, adjusted athleticism. But the one thing quirky about his profile, he's 26 years old. That is vastly old for a rookie. That is older than old for a rookie. All the spreadsheets really do not like him when it comes to projecting out his production going forward for the NFL, making him a guy to root for, making him that underdog story, making him that Cinderella story for Disney Plus, that we're hoping that this guy can break the spreadsheets and make something happen, come out of nowhere. And looking at the depth chart is very ambiguous. Marvin Mims hasn't been looking good at training camp and preseason. Josh Reynolds is that stable veteran, but this team's technically on a youth movement. Devaughn Vele, though, is 26 years old, but he is a rookie, so however they want to play that. But he's seasoned. He's been in college football for a bit. The thing about this is the depth chart is very ambiguous. Things could change on the drop of a dime here. Vele could earn targets and opportunity somewhere down the line. Courtland Sutton has a vast injury history, and that could reemerge this year. There's a lot of opportunities for Troy Franklin and Devaughn Vele. Vele could sneak up on us, but I would not forecast grand fantasy production. That's just hard to do in this situation because it's on bold next, but Greg Dulcich's probably going to be the guy in this offense. Moving forward, though, Courtland Sutton should be the man in the wide receiver depth chart. Of course, Jerry Jeudy's gone. That's 82 targets going somewhere else. Samaje Perine gone, and there's some more targets going somewhere else. That being said, someone else is going to have to be the wide receiver too. More than likely, though, the wide receiver to whoever it is, more than likely not going to be fantasy relevant, especially in basic 12-team leagues for redraft. So if he does emerge as a starting wide receiver, you're looking at him for like daily fantasy football or an option in deeper leagues, maybe like a deeper dynasty league or maybe even a deep redraft league. But people are noticing him because he is getting drafted more on the Underdog Fantasy. He went from a nobody to a little bit of something. A little bit of something's happening. That is something to note on the chart. With Noah Brown that we talked about earlier today, his chart did nothing. Even though he moved to a different situation, the news was talking about him, his chart did nothing. Vele's chart is moving up, and he's getting drafted. He's still not draftable on Underdog Fantasy. He's still below the 20-round mark on the chart. But still, people are looking at him. People are taking stabs in the later rounds. So you don't really need him in your basic redraft league. Dynasty, if you want to take a stab, if your league's deep enough, if you got a roster spot and he's free off waivers, it's just free off waivers. Really, it's just free off waivers. You're watching him in season. You're seeing if he's getting snaps. You're seeing if he's running routes. You're seeing if he's getting opportunities. And if that happens and you feel like he's usable, maybe in DFS, maybe in redraft as this depth chart gets decimated, but you think you need him if your league's super deep, but more than likely not. But you got to pay attention to him because odds are something's going to happen to this offense. But a lot of people are looking at Devaughn Vele. We're seeing that in the underdog chart right there. It's moving up a little bit. People are putting some chips on him. They're cheap chips, though. They're like last-round picks. But something to pay attention to as we get into the season. Watch his routes. Watch his snaps. See if he's getting opportunity. And that could be like Halloween time. That could be Thanksgiving time. But just pay attention now because he's starting to be put on notice. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video.